Welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful way to look at your life, your past, your present, and yeah, the future that you want to build. This isn't just about setting goals, it's about understanding the deep down architecture of your own experience.
So let's kick things off with this really foundational idea. Having a vision for your life, it's not some optional extra you can just skip. It's totally inevitable. You are always living out some kind of story. The only choice you really have is it your story or is it one someone else wrote for you?
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with exactly why having a vision is so critical. Then we'll get into the two fundamental realms of all experience. We're going to find out where real meaning actually comes from, see the surprising power of our daily routines, and then wrap up with a really practical way to clear the path forward. So, why is this vision thing such a big deal? Well, because if you don't consciously choose your own, you just default to a plan written by your short-term moods, or even worse, you end up living out someone else's plan for your life. There really is no neutral ground here.
So the crucial point is this. Your actions are always guided by some kind of underlying story or principle. You can think of it as being driven by an idea. The question isn't if you'll be driven, but what you'll be driven by. You got to make sure it's the right thing, a vision that's actually serving you.
Okay, now let's zoom out a bit and look at this really powerful model for understanding experience itself. The idea is that the world we live in, at its most basic level, is really made of just two core elements.
On one side, you have order. This is the world you get, your comfort zone. When you're in order, you do A and you get B. It's predictable, it's secure. And then on the other side, you have chaos. This is the unknown, right? Unexplored territory. It's where the unexpected happens, which, yeah, can be a threat, but it's also where everything new comes from. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because you have a choice here. How do you see the unknown? You can see it as this terrifying threat that you need to avoid at all costs, or you can see it as the source of all potential, the place you go to learn and grow and become a better version of yourself. Your entire attitude toward chaos is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. So if order is safe but can get stagnant, and chaos is where we grow but it's also dangerous, where are we supposed to be? What's the optimal place to actually live your life? The answer is found in the feeling of meaning, and we're not talking about some vague philosophical idea. It's described as a biological instinct, a deep signal from your own mind and body telling you, hey, you're in exactly the right place for growth right now. It's not something you think, it's something you feel in your gut. And where is that place? It's right on the border between those two realms. It's having one foot planted firmly in what you know, in order, so you're stable and secure. And the other foot is stepping into the unknown, into chaos. So you're being challenged, you're learning, and you're becoming more than you are right now. And this is just a brilliant way to think about it. Imagine playing a game where you could win every single time without even trying. You'd get bored in like 5 minutes, right? You look for a worthy opponent, a real challenge, because the whole point isn't just to win. The real point is the transformation that happens when you're pushed to become a better player. That's where the fun is, that's where the meaning is. Okay, let's bring these big ideas down to earth now. How does this actually work in our day-to-day lives? Because the secret to transforming your life, it isn't in those huge, once-in-a-lifetime moments. Nope, it's hidden somewhere much more common.
We have this habit of thinking our lives are defined by the highlights, the big vacations, the promotions. But that's a mistake. Your actual life is the sum total of all the stuff you do every single day. Those repetitive things are the very fabric of who you are. They might seem boring, but that's where all the real power is.
And to make this super concrete, get this. Let's say you have a chaotic 20-minute period every day. Maybe it's that transition from work to home life. If you can just bring a little order to that small window, you reclaim a massive amount of time. Over a year, that little 20 minutes a day adds up to about 12 full workdays. Just think about that for a second. By mastering the tiny things you repeat, you fundamentally change the entire structure of your life. But look, to move forward and start mastering those routines, you first have to deal with what's holding you back. And a lot of the time, that means confronting some dragons from your past and the fears you have about the future. I want you to think about something you've been putting off. Finding a new job is a classic one. Why do we avoid it? Well, it's because that simple task is actually tangled up with a whole mess of other stuff. To find a new job, you have to update your resume, right? And maybe you haven't looked at that thing in a decade. It's not just a document, it's a confrontation with your past self, your failures, your insecurities.
So what on earth do? You shrink the task until it's not scary anymore. You make it so small it's almost laughable. Instead of update resume, the task becomes find the file, or even just turn on the computer. Then you take that one shamefully small step, and here's the most important part. You acknowledge it as a victory. Because it is. It's a real step forward. And this is so important to remember. Progress isn't some straight line. It's way more like a snowball rolling downhill. Success builds on itself. Those tiny, almost embarrassing steps, they create momentum. One small win makes the next one just a little bit easier. And pretty soon, what felt impossible starts to feel, well, possible. Change really does accelerate. So the architecture of your life, it isn't built with grand gestures. It's built with tiny, consistent actions, day after day. The most important takeaway is the question right here. Don't worry about the giant leap. Just ask yourself, what is one foolish, ridiculously, embarrassingly small step you can take right now to move toward the person you know you could be? Because that's not just where the journey begins, that is the journey.